Lifers, we are back.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode.
We got a great one for y'all today.
A really good one. Really good one.
I just looked out and I had a rabbit thing going on. I just saw the farmer who's out there doing hay and it just threw me off.
I know.
It's crazy. It's that time of year where they're like baling up hay and
Yes.
coming into fall. And
I know. I'm so glad fall is coming.
pumpkin spice latte, are you a fan or an enemy of that? Because there are so many people that are polarized by pumpkin spice.
I think pumpkin spice lattes are delicious, but I haven't had one in a long time.
Is it overrated now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Very much 2010s-ish.
Yep. I was going to say 2012.
So is it time to move on to a different flavor?
Yeah, you guys should try an iced espresso with oat milk.
Oh.
No sugar.
Okay.
It's delicious.
Okay, cool. All right, well,
That's I'm kind of I do drink my afternoon coffee with a little bit of creamer that has sugar, but I enjoy the bitterness of coffee. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
A bitter, creamy coffee.
The younger version of you enjoyed and I'm talking about myself too, the sweeter side of life. And now that we're getting older, we're enjoying the bitter side of life.
Right. We're becoming bitter old people. When we were dating, you drank a vanilla latte. You got a venti vanilla latte, and you would get it with whole milk.
Yes.
And
so good. It would just coat your tongue with thickness.
And because I was dating you and I wanted to be like, yeah, I like what you like.
I'm your girl.
Yeah. So I would go and get a venti latte with whole milk. Do you know how whole milk?
Whole that is?
That's a lot.
That's like straight from the udder.
That's
just
a
open
lot
my
of
mouth and squeeze it in.
That's
straight
a
from the
lot
udder.
of money that I was spending on venti Starbucks lattes.
No, you were the one with all the money when we were dating, remember?
No.
Yeah. You were the school teacher living large.
Right. I had no debts. That's why.
I had the debts. That's why.
Right. I was making much less than you, but I still had no debts. Anyway, but it was a lot of money, but a venti whole milk. I keep saying that. But anyway, okay, let's talk about today what is on the podcast.
Man, I can't
It is so
wait
good. It is so
get into
good.
this.
So we got together with Pastor Adam
We
Steinbach.
brought in a heavy hitter.
We did. So Pastor Adam is the youth pastor at our church.
Yep.
He's in charge of middle school, high school. He also oversees a Southeastern extension
For college.
university at our campus, and he oversees those college students. Awesome. He's got an amazing wife, Amand, who is just so sweet. Yeah. He's got 3 kids, 1 in elementary, 1 in high school. So to say he has a broad... and he's been in youth ministry for a while. So, say that he knows what he's talking about.
Yes.
He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. And he's why we brought him on.
He is why we brought him on. Our youth group at our church is just on fire for the Lord. He's leading them so well and leading them just straight to Jesus. Yep. And so anyway, he is our guest today on the podcast. So we hope you guys enjoy.
All right, guys, here we go. We're going to dive in right now. Okay, so we are here. We have been trying to get this together for what? A long time. 3 months?
When did you move into the house that you're in right? Since March.
So whatever. This podcast has been the most anticipated podcast for ever for me.
Right.
So, and we finally made it. Pastor Adam, so glad to have you on here.
Yeah. Yes.
This is fun. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into ministry and how you're here today?
Reader's Digest version. My dad's a pastor. PK.
Hey,
we get that, right?
Here.
PK.
Yeah.
DK, Deacon's Kid, is that a thing?
I've never heard of that, but I'll take that. Yeah.
I don't know if that's a thing. Yeah. So, first grade, went to this. This is my first vivid memory, I guess. And then I wanted to be an NFL player and all the other stuff.
Yes.
First grade, career day, suit and tie, Bible.
Really?
For real.
Yes.
Just the weirdest thing. I just always knew I was going to be a pastor. So I'm actually 5th generation.
Wow.
How cool is
my
that? My
grandfather's a pastor, and then the 2 before that were missionaries. Colombia, Bolivia. So pretty cool. Yeah.
Wow.
For me, though, is music, the other side of things.
Because you are very well gifted on guitar and piano.
Well, yeah.
Do you do anything else besides guitar, piano, and sing?
I dabble with drums. I played the trumpet in marching band.
Okay, yeah.
I was in my uniform. Do they do that here? I was in my uniform halftime playing my trumpet.
Yes.
And anyway.
Did you have the fancy footwork?
Yeah, all of it. They give you the sheet, all of it. Yeah, it was wild. So I did that first, and then I was actually working for my father-in-law outside of Clarksville, a small town named Erin, Tennessee. And the youth pastor had left, and he goes, "Can you fill in?" And I said, "Absolutely not."
Oh, wow.
Teenagers terrify me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
High school memories all over again. And he said, please, the conversation went on for a while. And I said, just like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's it. Week 1, I fell in love with it. And
That
so
is
then when we
awesome.
moved here, it just felt like a natural thing for us.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well,
When they moved here, we were pregnant with Gable Claire. Because I remember meeting you, and
On the
I was
side of
like
the
on the
road,
side of the road
yeah.
out there.
We were
and
going
I was
to
like
lunch.
big and pregnant. And I guess, did my dad stop? And he was
stopped. Yeah.
like, "This is Adam and Amon."
Yeah.
And
How
that's the
crazy.
first time.
We
and now,
actually talked about that 2 weeks. My wife and I did.
Yeah.
We said that was the first time you were pregnant with Gable
crazy.
Claire.
And now she's in the youth group.
this is crazy.
Blows
Terrifying.
my mind. It's so
Terrifying.
It's so exciting
Yeah.
and so sad for me at the same
know.
time. Like
I know.
the old, it just it makes
Yeah.
me so sad.
They've grown up so fast.
They
too.
really do. They really
So
do.
what's our goal? Why are we on here with Pastor Adam today?
So here's what happened.
We're stepping into a new era right now.
Okay.
And
Right.
We're like, what in the world's going
Right.
on?
Which is also, if you're watching on YouTube, Jared and I are like playing, I don't know what this would be called, having to share this mic. So
Share
if
the
I
mic.
push you over,
Yeah,
just trying to
that's
talk,
what's
that's what's
happening
happening.
right now,
But when I was cleaning my house one day, this is a random story, and I was just thinking about Gable Claire going into the youth group, and I was like, there are so many parents who just need to know what to expect.
Yeah.
What to expect when you're expecting. Isn't that a book?
That's
a book of babies.
That's
Delivered,
different.
Right.
Totally different.
But
Yeah.
what to expect, like when your kid is going into youth group.
When I have a teenager.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I was thinking, I'm like, I need to have like a bunch of my friends over for dinner.
Okay.
And have you and Amon over for dinner. And just we eat, and then you sit in the dining or the den and just like tell us
This
what
is
to do.
better. I like this better.
Right.
Okay.
And then I was like,
Yeah,
if we
I
do
think I
it
like-
this way, I don't have to make as many enchiladas.
Yes.
And then you
Yeah.
can just tell even more
That's true.
people. And so it's just kind of this idea of like, let's just talk about the youth
Okay.
of now, and let's talk about how do we get to their heart.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pitfalls you've seen parents make. We're going to
Yeah.
go in so many different directions.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff.
But we are here
Yeah.
genuinely to learn.
Yeah.
And I know you would say at the beginning, like you're not, like you don't have all the answers,
Yeah.
but you've been in youth ministry
You've been
for
in the trenches
Yeah.
for
How long?
years.
I will say, so we did probably 3 years full-time youth ministry before here, and
Yeah.
a couple just helping lead in worship, just being chaperones.
Right.
So here we've been here 11-ish,
Right.
over 11
Which
now.
is so rare, by
Crazy.
the way.
It is crazy.
I mean,
Yes.
Yeah.
you get a youth pastor normally 1, 2, 3 years. So the fact that we've had you guys for this long,
Oh my
is
goodness.
Yeah, I have.
such a
I get on
blessing.
the phone with a few people. They're like, "What? Why are you still there? Is
Yeah.
there something wrong with you?"
Right.
Maybe. I don't,
I know.
I don't know.
I am
Yeah,
so
I
glad.
don't know.
I
Yeah.
genuinely am
I don't know.
so glad
Yeah.
you're still here.
Yeah.
And again, we haven't had a kid in youth yet.
Okay.
But just from afar, I have just
Yeah,
like,
and
I've been
she-
so proud. Well, I've been
It's
so
been
proud
3
of
weeks.
one student
Okay,
church
yeah.
and all that y'all are doing. Like seriously.
I will say just a caveat. So leading youth in ministry and then parenting youth, not the same thing.
I
So
can
take
get that.
everything with a grain of salt. So
Yeah.
we've got 2 teenagers now,
Yeah.
and then we got our little. She just turned 8, Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God for her, because there are days I'm like, you guys can just go to college.
Right.
Yes.
Yesterday, please.
Right.
I think no. We probably maybe we've told them that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We're terrible parents,
No.
right? So, but it is different. So
Yeah.
we're realizing what we do in youth ministry versus the day in, day out, everyday
Right.
thing. Not just twice a week for an hour here or there.
Absolutely.
Different.
Right,
Yeah,
right. But
totally
still, you have
Tools.
just the tools
Yeah.
from youth
Yeah.
ministry and what you're learning as a parent,
Yeah.
because you're learning as you go
Oh, yeah.
as a parent.
Yeah.
So just using both of them.
We're
And
all
again,
treading water here. Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
yeah. And this is also funny. Last night, Gable Claire found out that we were doing this podcast with you, and her eyes were just like, "What?" Like, as I think she
Okay.
thought we're just going to sit here and talk about her the whole time.
Oh,
well, although
okay.
I have
We could.
mentioned her name a couple times, so it's like, oh, I've talked about her too much.
yeah,
But she was just terrified, like, why are you like what? But it's like now that we're cresting this new season, it's
Yeah.
like, okay, let's equip ourselves because
Yeah,
we don't
let's
know
talk
what to
about it.
expect. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
First, I think we should start with what are some amazing, unique qualities about the youth, because you hear so many people just like
they get
dogging
the
so youth much. This generation.
Yeah, and I do.
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't as much, but so there's some traits. I think we're all millennials technically.
Yeah.
I try to like bump myself into Gen X, but people don't let me. So But Gen Z is completely different now, and you guys have some Gen Alpha.
I didn't know that's what
so
they were called.
under 9,
that's the new name.
Under 9, yeah, Gen Alpha is the new name.
My
Yeah,
goodness.
9 and under, or
9 and under.
9 and, okay.
Maybe under 9.
Wow.
I'll have to look. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And so every generation, I guess, has its unique things. So you've got baby boomers.
Yeah.
All the way now to Gen Alpha. They started over with the alphabet. And so there's some unique things, but Gen Z is really cool. So they're obviously the most connected generation ever.
Yeah.
They grew up with cell phones in their hands, iPads. They know how to run it before their 1-year-old better than
Their
you and
thumb
me.
just knows how. It's like, how do you know that?
With it, there's probably you see, and you should be happy for this as a chiropractor, because you're going to be fixing a lot of the like walking around like this.
Neck, absolutely.
Yeah. So
it's funny. I never knew that had a name.
Yeah, is that what's it called?
Text neck.
Text neck. Okay,
Text
I didn't
neck.
know that either.
There we
We're
go.
learning things.
Yes.
Yep.
But with that though, there's we could talk about the anxiety, the stress. We can get on all of that stuff, but I think there's almost a fearlessness. Of I can do anything.
Yeah.
I can be anything. I'm going to be a millionaire by the time I'm 25. I'm going to be a social media influencer.
Because with the internet and all,
why not?
It's actually possible. I mean, back in the day, it was much more difficult. But now that you have that at your hands,
so
you see it happening.
Think about in business or church or wherever, but in a business world, you have the CEO, and he controls all of the information.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go to a conference, or you have to buy curriculum or whatever to learn, to grow, to move up. So he can control who moves, who grows. So today, though, with YouTube, like you can learn anything you want to.
Yes.
And so there's no ceiling. So what you're seeing is a generation, I think it's even moving into millennials a little bit, but you're seeing a generation that's like, I'm just going to bypass the system and do this thing on my own.
Yeah.
Which is terrifying.
Which is calling college into question for some people too.
Oh yeah, which I'm okay with.
Yes.
Because college is not for everybody.
Let's push back against
My
that.
son's like, I want to go to Southeastern University. I'm choking because it's $44,000 a year.
Right.
It's gotten ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
And we're big Micro fans, so we love watching the trade stuff.
Oh, and he's wild,
Oh, Micro. I was like, Micro. I was like, I don't understand what
Micro, like a microwave. Yeah.
Yes.
Micro.
On that, he's like, we need more.
It's not for everybody.
We need more. Like, you can do amazing work and have a job instantly.
And electricians, plumbers, mechanics, machinists. You can basically dictate. This is what I want to make.
Yep.
These are the hours I want to work.
Yeah.
It's wild. I'm trying to get my son to do like deep sea oil rig welding. You can make so much.
Oh, yes.
He's not going to do it.
Yeah.
We watch too many shark movies. But like you can make so much money. Yeah.
Right.
So they're just like, their mind is just like anything is possible.
Anything's possible.
Yeah.
Which I absolutely love. With it comes some rebellion, with all the negative side, but and that's what we tend to focus on. But there's so much positive, I can record, produce, master, and release a song next week on my own. I think Billie Eilish, all these, but I think in her bedroom.
In her bedroom with her brother.
With her brother, and she's like super popular now.
Wow.
Just. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
That's
I can
amazing.
do it. Yeah. So there's a lot of positive to this generation before we get into anything negative. There's so much good.
Right.
And I think, they just look at the Bible, they look at God, they look at this church, they look at relationships just so much different.
Yeah.
And I think it's refreshing to me. I think it challenges me to
How are they looking at it different now than, say, 10, 20 years ago? What are you seeing?
Good and bad. So everything's feeling. That's the negative.
Okay.
If I don't feel it, it's not real.
Gotcha.
This whole love is love, the whole, all of that mindset that we're living in today. And so they're very much emotional, feeling based. So when they come to service, they want that.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I'm pushing discipleship. So we're butting
And if the
heads.
worship just isn't on point, or we're not playing that song,
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I tell them to get out of here. I don't ever want you to come back.
Right.
No, I don't. But so that part you have to train a lot but what I do love is when they're reading the Bible, they're seeing it. I guess I don't have a clear-cut example, but they're just seeing it differently. They're seeing even the relationship with God, how they view that. Because again, they're so used to talking to somebody, let's say on the other side of the world.
Right.
They can sit there on their video game in their chair, playing their video game with their headset on and talking to who knows who from where, which is terrifying. But this idea of long distance, send an email across the world and it's there in seconds or less. So you can filter that. You can associate that with God then of like, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Wow. So in some ways they get the relationship a little bit more.
That's so cool.
That he's right here, but even if he's not, it's just a conversation away.
Yeah.
Which is kind of neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's refreshing to hear. I mean, we know with our kids, with your kids, like, there's great qualities about them. But again, you just hear in the culture, everything is just negative. Everything's tough. I remember my dad said when his kids were growing up that people would say, oh, your kid is going to be a teenager, it's going to be horrible. He said he would oh no, he didn't do that. He said he would let it go in one ear and out the other. I'm like,
he's told me the same thing.
Sometimes it's the stick to finger and so it doesn't go out. But it's just like, I want to have that attitude, even though already they're driving me crazy. You know what I mean? Like there's times that I'm just like, I don't understand you.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand, but I just want to have that optimistic view of them and the generation, and just like God has great things in store for you.
Absolutely.
Even though there's so many weaknesses, but I mean, our generation has weaknesses.
Goodness.
Everyone. There's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
So.
There was a magazine, Time magazine, I think it was, that the title was "Help, My Parents Are Millennials." So the flip of that, like Gen Z and everybody, but the parents of Gen Z are Gen X millennials. Yeah. All the way down to 9. So Isn't that crazy?
What do you think are some of the biggest pitfalls so like we're coming into this having, early teenagers. What are some of the big pitfalls that you parents our age are making with kids that we need to be aware of?
Or that you've seen parents make, and then I want their names. Tell me who they were.
Their names.
Names.
Yeah. The biggest thing that it's hard. So you can be the perfect parent and still have a bad kid.
Right.
You can be a terrible parent and raise great kids.
Right.
Because we all want A plus B equals C, right?
We
Especially
do.
when it comes to raising kids.
We do. And so there's no formula, because you can have 2 kids raised in the same home, same environment, and they're gonna, split.
Right.
They're gonna go different ways, and you didn't do anything wrong. So we had to learn that early on with our kids, what kind of discipline works for one, not the other.
Yeah.
And so I specifically remember Camille, our middle child, frustrated, you don't discipline me the same way. She didn't say it just like that, but just this, why do they get away with this, but I don't? And so so they see it.
Yeah.
And they're going to call you on it. And so it is difficult going, man, because this doesn't work for you. Let's be honest here. Let's have this conversation.
Right.
So I think some of the bigger pitfalls would be not giving the freedom to fail. I see that especially in Christian families a lot.
Wow.
Is this idea, and we don't want any kid to fail.
Right.
We'd love for them to be perfect. We'd love for them to grow up with no issues, never doing anything wrong. But if we were to sit and swap stories right now, we won't. But if we were, we had our issues growing up.
Oh,
absolutely.
We had our big fails, small fails, and everything in between. And so I was sitting, it was a few years ago, I was sitting with a mom and a dad, and they had concerns about their kids. So I'm meeting with them. They're in my office, and they're telling me he's just gone off the deep end. That there's some stuff. This is what he did. This is what he did. And we just hate it. And I said, I don't hate it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wish it didn't happen. I'm so sorry it's happening. I'm so sorry that you have to deal with it. But wouldn't you rather have it happen while he's under your roof
So good.
than to shelter him until he's 18 and then he goes off to college and you have no control? You're out.
Right.
So you can, instead of getting frustrated, find it as an opportunity to help your kid grow. This was never about us being perfect.
Right.
Otherwise, Jesus wouldn't have had to come.
That's such a
Yeah.
great point.
And so when you think of it in that way, and it's hard to do when they're your kids because you want this, let's be honest, it's really not about the kid, it's our ego.
Yeah,
Oh, oh.
absolutely. We've talked about it's like a parent report card.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like
Yes.
the way
And
they turn
everybody's
out
watching
is a reflection
you.
of
Yes.
me. Yes.
Yeah.
That's so
and it's
good.
not.
And we
It
need to
shouldn't
get
be.
over that.
100%.
I don't know how to do that. Church, we're very judgy. We're,
Yeah.
all these
Yeah.
things, maybe not specifically as people, but generalization of the church is
Yeah.
we're very
Yeah.
much that way. And so we got to get out of that. So giving them permission to fail,
Yeah.
giving them permission to try, giving them permission to not have it all together, giving them permission to,
Because that's how we
Yeah.
build our confidence. That's how we make those
Yeah.
mistakes in a safe place.
Yeah.
Like you said, like underneath your parents' wings, because you're right, to get out in the real world and never have that chance to try something because you just had to be in this little cookie cutter, like, hold on, here's the guardrails.
yeah,
Is
yeah.
Yeah.
detrimental.
And
to
the
these
bumpers
kids.
are great.
Yeah.
But at some point in bowling, you go, okay, I've done this long enough.
It's time.
And you're going to get some gutter balls.
Yeah.
But it's time to take the bumpers out and let's figure this out. And so,
Right.
man, you didn't pass 100, but you got 75. Let's do better next time.
Right.
So,
So
our
good.
challenge that we have as parents is to not just like push down on them and make them scared to try.
Yeah.
Like, I can't fail because my mom and dad are going to do this or this or
Right.
this. But what
Because
happens?
when they're scared to fail, that's when they start doing crazy things to
Yeah.
hide it from you and then their life just can go.
Yeah, and if you,
crazy.
man, the more I'm finding, the more we can be just open with our kids
Yes.
and keep them open with us.
Yeah.
And that's difficult to do, but how do I keep the conversation line, the telephone line, the how do I keep it open?
Yeah.
Whatever it takes.
Right.
And sometimes that means like throwing away the script, throwing away what we
Wow.
thought we knew. We don't have, we can't raise our kids like our parents raised us. There are some good, and then there's some, and so,
Yeah.
my dad, and he's a great dad. He's a great dad, but his dad, at least from what I've gathered from him, his dad didn't talk much. They didn't have those conversations. He did better with me. But it wasn't perfect, and
Yeah.
there were a lot of, Dad, if you're listening, I love you.
Yes, yes.
But like there were a lot of those like, we got to have these conversations, but it wasn't easy because you can only give what you've been given.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so each generation though, I feel like is going to get better and better
Yeah.
if we do it right. So I feel like I'm trying more.
Yeah.
And my wife is so much better at it than I am.
Yeah.
She just has a way of, now it's not always great because sometimes there's, the butting heads, but man, she can just get in their world and open. They
Right.
just stay open. And I
Right.
love that. We need that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good.
I remember when we had our kids at the beginning, we were like, when they're older, we want to be super conversational.
Yeah.
Like we said it, but we're still just like changing diapers
Yeah.
and doing the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But the older they're getting, the more we're realizing and what we've learned from hearing so many other people about how they were raised and just different. Sometimes it was just so black and white. This
Yeah.
is what we do. This is what we don't do.
Yeah.
Don't ask questions.
Yeah.
Don't mess up. And it's just
Yeah.
like, we want to
Legalism.
be just like conversational. We want to, and it doesn't mean let's converse for you to get exactly what you want.
No.
But let's talk about why we do this. Let's talk about
Yeah.
the heart of the issue.
Yeah.
So that's another.
Or if I'm sorry.
No.
Or to not say anything at all.
Yes.
And this is one of the hardest things to do sometimes is when they're talking. So there's two things. First is like, be ready when they're willing to talk. And my mom taught me this actually, and she shared this, that you need to be available at any time. Like when they're ready to talk, you need to be there.
Which is so
'cause
hard
they're-
because it's always right before bed.
Yes.
And I'm exhausted.
Yeah. Or they
I want to
wake-
go eat ice cream with him
Okay, yeah,
downstairs,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm just like,
Don't
why?
tell them all of our secrets.
Okay.
It's okay.
We eat ice cream before bed
Almost
sometimes.
every night.
Yes.
We used to. We had to
Right.
stop. Yeah.
We did
yeah.
too because we have a milk intolerance now.
Okay.
I think we may have created that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just like you're
Yeah.
just so tired, and that's when one of them especially will just like open up and start
just
asking all
wanna-
these
yeah,
questions.
Such
yeah.
great questions. You're like, huh?
I know, and I'm just like, ooh,
Yeah.
and then I'm down.
See, and they're asking the questions early on. They want the answers later, though, as they get older. It's not as much about asking questions about them just wanting to share.
Yeah,
But the problem that we have, I used to do this with my mom, is I would share, and then she'd want to come in with answers and with solutions and with all these things, and then I would shut down.
Yeah.
And so that's hard too, is trying to just see body language. Where are they at? What are they needing from me now? And sometimes it's not an answer. Sometimes, and this is not just kids. This is this is marriage.
Yes.
101 even. Like, my wife doesn't always want a solution. I want to give a solution. She doesn't always need a solution.
She just wants to be known.
Yeah, stop.
He did that the other day. I was like, I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
Don't tell me the solution. I just want to tell you.
I just want to tell you.
I just want to tell you.
Because we fix.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But as parents, we try to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So
because we've been doing it their whole life.
You can relate to him now because of the way with your kids. You can go, I get why Jared's the way he is now, because I want to do the same for my kids.
Right.
So I have 3 letters. I call it SNL, like Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
One of them's a K. It's kind of a cheat, but so seen, known. I know it's a K word, but I'll use it as an N.
There it is. I'm like, what do you
seen,
mean?
known, and loved are like. And that's for everybody, but really for this generation, what we try to do as parents. And I do it as youth pastor, but I'm trying to do it in my own home.
Yeah.
I see you, you're known or noticed, however you want to play that.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely loved no matter what.
Right.
And I think that's Jesus.
I think that last part, no matter what.
No matter what
Yes.
is key.
So
is key.
pivotal.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
nothing that you could ever do that's going to stop me from coming after you and loving you like crazy.
Absolutely.
This Reggie Dabbs, who was there this last week, I was only in the service at the very end, but he said something that I was like, how beautiful.
Okay.
When he was just like, I love you no matter what. He was like, I'll love you even if you don't serve Jesus. I'll love you all the way to the gates of hell, but then peace, that's where I'm out. Yeah. Like, I was just like, that. Now, obviously, we don't want, that's not the end that we want, but it's just like, I love you no matter what, because they have to make their own decision.
Yeah, but I won't stop fighting for you until that moment.
Right. Like, I'm going to fight
there
for you and love you.
Especially as parents, and we're dealing with parents who, I mean, again, we've got, it's no longer do we have 2 genders. We do, but like, that's the society we're in, and kids are growing up. So I found this interesting. I'm decent friends with a guy up in Minnesota. His name's Terry Parkman at River Valley Church. Okay. He's the next gen, and he travels all over and speaks. And he shared this with me. I thought it was very interesting. So previous generations would share on social media how they feel. And so I feel this, so I'm going to share this. This generation, he said, and I've found it to be true, Gen Z, they don't share what they feel. They share anything. And then depending on what response they get from people determines and dictates the way that I feel, see, act, believe, all of those things. So they're willing, sometimes you'll see them put crazy stuff out there. And it's not necessarily how they believe or how they feel. They're seeing what's the response.
Right.
And then I'll dictate my beliefs based on the response.
Wow, that's a little scary.
It's terrifying. Yeah.
I'll go with terrifying.
We'll go with terrifying.
Yeah.
So this is what we're dealing with, not just in youth ministry, but in our homes of these kids going to school, watching. My 8-year-old, the first time is probably 4 or 5 that she's like, why are there 2 moms on this kid cartoon show? Why are there 2 dads on these things we think is safe?
Which growing up, which is, you didn't see that.
You didn't see
it was
that.
Family Matters, Full House.
Yeah.
It was.
What was that called? What was that called?
TGIF.
TGIF. Thank God it's Friday.
And I couldn't watch Step by Step because there were divorced families or something. I don't know. I didn't watch it. I wasn't allowed.
You're like, I still don't know.
I don't know. I'm terrified to turn it on. My mom's going to call.
That is so funny. TGIF. I remember
TGIF.
So like we just said, there's obviously the kid has to make their own decision to serve the Lord. It has to be personal.
Yeah.
But how do we as parents best get to their heart?
Yeah. That's tough. So I say this from a church, if I can just jump into youth pastor mode for a second. Like the church, if we look at this as insurance companies, you have your primary provider, and then you have your supplemental. So like an Aflac, right? The crazy duck.
The duck.
So parents' home has to be primary.
Yes.
Church, I get some of them, and I don't mind the comment, but they go, here, fix my kid.
Yeah.
Or here, I've failed and I welcome that.
Right.
And we do our best.
And there's some kids
who
get involved in youth and have, like you said, have a
changes
horrible
their
life, and they're just running after Jesus.
But as a parent, I need to remember that, though, that the church is there to help and to be a resource, but they're not the primary. So, like, in our house, we do devotions every single night with our kids. Wow. Period.
Right. And what does that look like? Like, what is a devotional with teenagers and an 8-year-old?
And one. So
what does that look like?
We've just switched. So we used to do, there's these books. Go way back, but we have these books by Louis Giglio that are just like him. One day.
So
How
Great Is Our God?
Yeah, How Great Is Our God. There's 2
one.
books. He has another one. So just like science and world stuff, and he's so good at applying it to scripture. So we went through those a lot. We did actually the Buck Denver What's in the Bible. It used to be on Right Now Media. They pulled it.
Okay.
That is incredible. So it basically starts, what is the Bible? Why do we have the Bible? Where did it come from? Who wrote it? I mean, even into the Apocrypha, but it's all like kid related. So you have puppets, you have the Sunday school lady, you've got the flanographs, you've got the church choir, and then just him talking. So you've got some incredible stuff. But by the time we got to Jesus and the crucifixion, my wife and I are weeping. I mean, we're just like it's. But the discipleship, and I believe he created it because VeggieTales, which is so good, but there's so much more to the story than a giant pickle fighting David or Josh in the big wall or whatever. There's these kids can handle more, and so we went through that. We've gone through the books. We've actually just had a conversation, Amon and I, with this has all been good for Charlie. What are we doing for them now?
Right.
So we're switching up devotional. I don't 100% know how that's going to look. If we're going to read through the Bible together, if we're going to take a chapter at a time, if we're going to, I want them engaged.
Yes.
That's the key.
Right.
Maybe it's them presenting a devotion to us. Tonight's your night. What does that look like? I don't know.
Right.
So we're still, we're navigating this with you.
Yeah.
We're not pros by any means, but we did just have the conversation. Something needs to switch here. My son's a sophomore.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
And my daughter's a freshman, and so I've got 3 years. That's it. Unless he stays home and goes to college, but it still changes the relationship a lot. So
scuba welding, though, remember?
Yeah, that's a lot of money, And he has no idea what he wants to do with his life, and that's okay.
Right.
And so we bug him about it, but then we know there's like a line where he shuts down. Okay, we passed it. We went too far on this. My bad.
Right.
But he does have some things he loves, and so we try to connect. So he loves fishing right now. He loves playing the drums. So, how does that connect with the Bible? How does that connect? What could you do with that in life? Where is, so we're trying.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of try and fail too. And we have to give, as much as we give them permission to fail, we have to give ourselves permission to fail.
Right.
Guys, this is so good.
This is so good.
Man.
So when we recorded this with Pastor Adam, it was about an hour-long conversation that we had. And we could have kept going.
Yes.
There was so much more that we could have talked about.
Yes.
So we've divided this up into 2 parts. So this is part 1, and we just had to find a spot to break it. And in 2 weeks, we're going to have part 2. So in the meantime, go spread this to everyone, because so many of us need to hear this wisdom for our kids.
So many of us new parents are like, what are we supposed to do? I don't want to mess this thing up.
Right. So share it out on social media. Get your friends to listen to this, and be sure to come back in 2 weeks for part 2 with Pastor Adam Steinbach. Hope you guys have a great day.
Bye.